and a big old burrito, and I'd be good as new when I got home.
Yeah, right.
Nope.
But does it kind of ball up on you or the tendon or something?
No, it just turned to mush.
Yeah.
It was in there, just kind of flapping around, and I'd never done that before.
No.
I'd rather break a bone.
Yeah. Probably be
There
all
was
set
motion
by now.
detected in this room.
What's that?
Nothing, the alarm, it's fine.
No.
Well, let's get started, because I want to get you home before the roads start getting bad.
All right.
Welcome. Got a agenda, I brought you a treat for the new year. Always gives me a reason to stop down at Sweet Expression.
Oh, thank you. You're never too old for treats.
I always count on Dennis for chocolate covered pretzels.
Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna have to hide this when I get home.
So there's a couple of items I really like to get into. I do have some handouts, I like to give you things to read. This I saw in December before I went to Florida. I ran it off, and supposedly this guy found the largest tree so far in New York State. The only problem is, when I went on the web, when I looked on his website, it doesn't give a lot of information as to the size or what it is or anything else, but you can see him
That's a big tree.
standing there.
Looks like something in California.
Yeah, it does.
And the other article was kind of interesting, talking about genetically engineered trees. They started doing that with chestnut, but it was kind of an interesting article. Gives you some thought as to, is this the right way to go or not the right way to go? So yeah, I looked at, there's a website for that guy, and I went on, and there was nothing about the trees, so I couldn't find out much information.
Oh, it's a cottonwood.
You know, what it is.
Cottonwood tree? Something cottonwood,
Oh, okay.
right?
I didn't realize they got that big,
Well,
or big at all.
they get pretty big fast.
They get big facts, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
They're a little messy too, right?
yeah, and kind of brittle because they grow so fast.
not a clean tree.
No, not generally.
So anyway, just some things for you to read.
Thanks.
One of the big things tonight is to establish our goals for 2023. Gotcha. Pass that around. I keep losing my paper. I just jotted down some things, obviously, just to get us started. You might see changes and additions. I'm assuming that we're going to plan the Arbor Day activity this year, and it's October 28th. Sarah might hear from a group like the Girl Scouts again or whatever that might be interested. If we don't hear from someone, then we'll kind of organize our own activity.
And we have a budget for it, so yeah, if someone doesn't, pipe up that they want to do it, we have money to buy a tree and do something again.
Sounds good. Then our usual of visiting the town cemeteries and the parks. We'll talk about establishing a time here a little bit later.
Where's Edith been? She
I don't know.
all right?
I haven't heard anything from her or anything else. Maybe we should need to contact her to.
Reach out. Yeah, I mean, she's on the list I
Melanie
send
does.
out, but, and she's on the ECB. Maybe she just,
Maybe.
Feels
Just busy,
overwhelmed or
but-
something.
yeah.
Yeah, because I double checked that email, because I think there's two emails for her, and one is no longer working.
Yeah, her
But-
Gmail account, I think, is the one she uses, because the other one was
That's
her
what I was
soil and
trying
water
to be careful
email.
of, making sure I sent that to the Gmail.
Do you want to
So, yeah,
contact
we need to
her, or do you want
contact
me
her.
to?
And along that line, when I sent out that note there a couple of weeks ago, if someone that lives in the town that'd
Has to
like
be
to
in the
join us,
town.
they don't really have to know that much about trees, just
Yeah,
it'd be nice to have a few more voices and people to give some input.
Okay. Sarah, was Edith at the last ECB meeting? I was,
Yes, she was.
okay, I had to miss that one, but, okay.
Then the other thing we're going to be talking about tonight is continuing the historical tree program. Then I didn't know how you felt about these, we really haven't come to any kind of conclusion. We talked about, and Dan started it with the recommended trees. I went to the Florida State Fair, one of the things they had, this doesn't deal with trees, but just a nice little pamphlet. I thought
Plants.
this would be kind of nice to develop something like this with trees that the residents in the town could use, and we could make up something like this and hand it out. That's one of the things we need to continue on. The other thing I know, Dan, when you sent out that list, you highlighted some things with yellow or with a color. My color still doesn't come up. I don't know if we can do something about that or
Yeah, I guess I could do an underline.
something. Yeah, because mine didn't have any it didn't blacken. Sometimes if there's a color, it'll come darker, but I don't know about the rest of it. But that'll be one of the activities we need to work on at some other meeting. I'm assuming you're still kind of interested in working with the cemetery committee to, we did at Hunt Cemetery, and I know they're planning on, and I don't know if they set a date yet, of going to Sand Hill and doing some more work. And I understand you guys have done some work in the hedgerows at Sand Hill, right?
Yeah,
Something. Maybe you've done all the work, so we don't have to worry.
we cleaned them up pretty good there.
Atlantis.
So that might be something that the cemetery committee needs to look at to see how much more we need to.
Yeah, we took quite a bit out. We brought the wood chipper up in there and
Oh, wow.
chipped it all.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's already done well enough.
Was it brush or was it some of the big tree of heavens too?
Well, we got what we could with like the overhanging branches and
Okay,
took down what we could, but mostly the small. We took out a lot of the small buckthorn.
yeah.
What did you do anything with the lilac bush that was over that one gravestone and
And
that
we trimmed it
you
back.
trimmed it back? So you didn't take it out though, you just trimmed it back. So we'll see what that does. Oh, okay, so maybe you've done all the work. Then the other two are just put question marks, Dan in particular, do you want to do some other type of workshop? Last year you did it with
Pruning.
the staff. Is there another workshop you want to do with the staff, or do you want to do something with the public, or?
Well, I don't know where the interest would lie.
Right.
I don't know, you guys. Toss that up to you guys.
Right.
Yeah,
So, maybe we, for the next meeting, you come up with
all right.
some suggestions, or just maybe not have a workshop or something. Is there anything your staff would be interested in? We did the trimming last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of something we can.
Think about,
Yeah, all right.
Or
And-
it might be good to just revisit that maybe.
Sure.
Because we have some new full-time staff.
Okay.
oh, there you go. How many more
Well,
full-time?
just one.
Just one right now?
Yeah.
I definitely come
And
to that
Dan,
this
you
year.
might think of something that might interest at least the staff or whatever.
If with a workshop on pruning, is that something we could open to the public? Probably wouldn't get a whole lot of interest, but there might be some people. Or open to internal boards and committees.
Yeah,
You
sure.
feel comfortable about doing something like that if we sent a message out to the.
Yeah,
Could do it
Now,
on
when
Arbor
would be a
Day.
good time to do that?
when?
We would have to
Yeah.
inform the public.
Well, it depends, dormant pruning or in-season pruning. It's different types of pruning.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, the best time to prune is in the dormant season.
Yeah.
Right.
Either early spring, fall, winter. But you can prune during the year.
Mhm.
Certain times you can't with certain species, but it will be more limited if it's in the growing part of the season. Most people are going to want to attend when it's warm out, not when it's like this,
Mhm.
So that's a consideration. But these guys, it's a little different story. Because maybe, you know, you had the dormant pruning, maybe you want growth pruning, or, I don't know. Yeah. In
Is
season
it going to be
pruning.
too late in our next meeting, the April meeting, to make a decision, or?
No, you know, you don't want to generally prune when they're budding out,
Mhm.
Right,
and that's
So,
mid-April on some trees.
so we could make a decision of some sort in April, and
Yeah, you could, and
Just,
then, yeah, then you have hardwood trees like maples and more of the ornamental trees that bud out more into May. But if you're pruning small trees like crab apples and fruit trees, then they bud out pretty early. You know, flower buds.
what time of year did we do it last year? That was during the summer?
It's in the fall.
No, was it in the, I thought it was, no, it was early. It was early spring. It was before April, last week in March.
Was it?
Yeah,
Was that, we did?
yeah, it was warmer that year.
Yeah, it was a nice day that we did it.
Yeah.
That's why I was thinking it was.
It was a little dry too.
But if we're going to be okay to make a decision in April,
Yeah,
we'll do that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you can teach pruning anytime. It's just easier when the leaves are
Right.
off, you know, for
You
structural
know, and
pruning.
especially if we're going to do it for the public, it'll take some time to get the information out and all that stuff.
I think there's a lot of people that don't know, and I'm, in some respect, I'm one of them, that don't know how to prune and when to prune.
Mhm.
You know, come May, a lot of my neighbors just are out there lobbing things off, and I'm just, you know, and then they
Well,
wonder why
yeah.
they're not getting blossoms and
Right,
blooms, and
Right.
I think that's a lot of people, to tell you
Yeah,
the truth.
Yeah.
So.
just one size fits all, and it's not generally the case.
even the landscapers that do the
Yeah,
HOA,
same
they
thing.
just shear everything down, and there's no blooms for that here. They cut them all off. They cut all the buds off.
Right, right. Or cut it at the wrong time where you get disease transmission, you know.
All right, so we'll put that for the April. And the other thing, you know, I put question mark again, I don't know. At one time, we talked about inventory. I know when I've been looking at a lot of the historical tree programs and stuff throughout the United States, a lot of them do the inventory. I didn't know if we pursued that, if that's something we're going to start being interested in, or put that off for this year and decide to do it some other time, or not do it at all.
Tree inventory. Yeah, yeah.
You think it's
That's-
something you want to continue to?
Yeah, yeah. Would that be similar or connected to the second item down, the develop the historical tree program? I
Could be.
mean, do you want to take an inventory of what we have already on town land to kind of fill that bucket, to have that program with specimens in there already?
Could do that.
Hi, Edith.
Hey, there she is.
Kind of practice our rubric or our criteria. I think we talked.
Hey, yours must have been burning, because we were talking about you.
Well, I do apologize. I got home from Kansas
Oh,
today,
oh, wow.
having left there at 1:30 this morning.
Oh,
And
wow.
it didn't occur to me, of course, when I got home that the clocks were wrong.
oh,
And I didn't think about it until a few minutes ago.
No, we're glad you're here.
You've been driving since 1?
Actually,
Whoa.
I flew part of the
Oh.
way, and
Your arms must
the
be
plane
awfully
was-
tired.
Yes. Actually, it's a different part of the anatomy. We were doing a long time in Detroit. Sat
Oh,
on
that's
the
not
plane.
fun.
Part of the way, would you to walk the rest, or what?
Yeah. I swam.
Worse, rented a car and drove to get to Kansas City, and then you have to rent a car and drive another 3 hours to
Down toward Wichita?
get farther north.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's not-
Well, Edith, what we've been doing on the
Sorry.
agenda, we're on number 3, we're looking at the goals.
Good.
I don't think
Okay.
I gave you the goals.
No. Okay.
We pretty much went through them, we're down at the
Yeah.
bottom here now, do we do a tree inventory, and it's felt that, yeah, we probably should continue figuring out something there.
How big do you want it to be? I mean, is it just park areas?
Just
cemeteries, parks, and
that's up to
Rec
us, I think.
areas.
I mean, what I've been reading, I mean, some of them are really, really involved. as,
Yeah, it can be like,
to what they are.
yeah.
I think, you know, just a general one is to, you know, the types of trees we have in the town and on the town property,
Mhm.
the cemeteries and the parks. You know, Onondaga will be another story. but
Oh,
we
yeah,
can-
yeah, it's a
We
big
probably can come up with a
woodland.
general statement, at least for the uplands.
Eric's got a lot on that, because you did a paper on that, or a project.
Yeah, it's one, it's a 500-yard section. Survey, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's something, you know, I mean, it's something we'll keep as part of the goals and get to it when we can. Right now, there are other things that we.
Do you want me to look into, well, you know, when we talked about this several years ago, there was a grant program with DEC for a tree inventory, and that was the more involved one, and we actually applied for it and didn't get it, but we talked to them about why we didn't get it, and she had given us some pointers, and we said, well, you know, we're not a city, we're a town, we can't look at our entire urban forest because, or town, you know, community forest, which is everything we own, because Onondaga, you're not gonna inventory every single tree, but she said, well, looking at the landscaped trees or the trees that are, you know, individual in the open areas of the park, or the cemetery trees, or the other town park trees, she said it's a worthy project. And then they never opened the grant again. But I was just glancing, and it looked like they may open it this year.
Oh,
And it looks like there might be a webinar coming up at the end of March. So if you want, I can look into it and see if it's something we would want to do.
Sure.
Again, this is the larger project. This is, you know, all town-owned trees that don't include the forest lands.
oh, okay.
Because
So
it doesn't
rec
really work for
areas-
forest lands, because you can't,
No.
you're not gonna count every tree.
Yeah, well, you could, but you go crazy.
Yeah. But the trees in the
Fingers.
open areas of
Yeah.
Onondaga Park, and then the cemetery and the other cemeteries, and then
So-
the other parks and the town hall and
Town,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Open
Yeah,
space,
That would be,
like, so,
yeah, if you want to
Well,
do
that'd
that.
be
set
great.
it up. Is there a deadline? Does it
It
say?
doesn't look like, because I've checked this page over and over again for the last 3 years, and there was nothing, and this is new, where it says round 16. This wasn't there the last time I looked. So this, obviously, there's not a whole lot of information, but it looks like they're gonna have an information session in a
29th.
couple of weeks, so I can go to that and see what they have to say. See if it's something we'd be interested in,
Right. Perfect.
I think it would be great, yeah.
because they've had some other programs, ash, or, you know, planting
get us a-
grants for other stuff.
Get
but-
us all the money you can, right?
and then there'll be guidelines with it that we'll have to
There are
probably
guidelines,
read about.
And when when the program came around before, there was no match, so it was 100% funded. But then, and it ended up being like, I think it was like 10 or 11 grand. They wanted a minimum, you know, and we had to supply an estimate from somebody, and so we'd gotten a basic estimate from somebody, and it was, you know, it was around there. I mean, of course, they know what you're going for when you tell them what the minimum is. So.
All right.
But yeah, so I don't know if that's what this is. I'd have to look into it. This is just my first glance right now. I just opened it while you were talking about tree inventory, so I'd have to look a little bit more. But if they did in fact open the same program up again, and we want to go that route, we could try.
Sure, if you want to pursue that. Anything else that you see on the goals for 2023? I'm supposed to get these into the town board.
Okay.
Anything else you think we should be adding to the goals, or?
I did put up a display about recommended shrubs for understory that's upstairs, if you happen to take a look at it.
A display for,
Yeah, recommended
glass case.
shrubs for shrubs, native shrubs that people could plant instead of burning bush, in other words.
Yeah.
If we could, and that list is done. Would you like to
yeah, I
list?
think we could, because
I
we were
can give
talking,
that to you and we can add that to the list of recommended trees.
yeah, because that's one of the things we've been talking about, is coming up with a list of recommended trees, and Dan they had that online. When I went to the Florida State Fair, they had a lot of pamphlets like this, and I thought a nice little pamphlet like that we could do, so we could add the shrubs and stuff.
Yeah, well, I have a nice list of native things that are good for this growing zone. Some of them are pictured
Now, did you
upstairs.
do that for the ECB, or you
I
just
did, but we can use it,
All right.
you
No, I
know.
mean, that could be something that added to the.
Sure.
Mhm. How would we
Anything else
just,
you think we should add to the?
I'm just, how would we distribute that to the public outside of putting it online, connecting it to the town
Something
website?
like this?
Yeah,
Website, yeah.
You know, I know a lot
Newsletter.
of places have literature racks. There's one up
Right.
here
Yep, we could do
that you
that
can
too.
pick things up.
Mhm.
ECB will be having their Enviro Fair or whatever.
Yeah.
along
Right, they can be
later
in
on,
and out.
and that could be handed out.
And Sarah's always good at putting notices and things on the,
Mhm.
Yeah,
on
we
the
can
web
put it in
and-
the newsletter, we can, we have a Facebook page that whenever I put pictures on it or, something, people notice it, so if you put a big picture of some pretty flowering
Yeah,
shrub
yes,
or
the shrubs,
something,
yes,
people are gonna
okay.
look and see, well, what is that about? So, I mean, we can always share stuff that way. You're not gonna reach everybody, but, you
Right.
have some printouts, you send it in the newsletter. The ECB talks about it at the fair, mention it at, the Republican Committee's doing a tree giveaway that they do at the transfer station every year. And the town is doing a sidewalk mapping project, and that group is going to have like a little table set up on the same day,
Yeah.
and it's right around Arbor Day.
Mhm.
I don't see why this group couldn't have a little table with some paperwork if we
That would
wanted
be
to
good,
share
yeah.
some things too. I mean, then there's 3 different groups to catch people's attention. It's a big
so yeah,
space.
so that may be at our next meeting along with continuing the historical tree program.
Mhm.
We throw this in, and maybe in the meantime, Dan, you can get us another copy of that list of
Was-
trees and kind of highlight them some way or whatever, because mine just,
On the historic trees or?
no, the
Recommended, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I started to go through it, I didn't, not exhausted.
So anything else that you can think of?
Maybe another one would be an invasive species alert or watch that you share with the public, or they
Yeah.
look, something that they can do. Make them aware of invasive plant species, invasive insects. And, like the lanternfly, yeah.
Yes, and the Atlantis tree.
Yeah, no,
So I would talk about when you have to just be plants, it could be,
It could be plants also, invasive species of plants, like,
I don't know, I know the ECB was working on something like that, I don't know if they have.
They have several different projects. They have information about it. I don't know.
oh,
that
that's
it's-
kind of what you guys,
It's kind of an
I
overlap,
know
but
they- I
that's
know they've
okay.
put stuff out before. but
I think
Yeah.
redundancy is good.
Okay.
it could be.
And we have, the ECB's done articles about invasive species over the years, and we still have all that stuff. From time to time, we can reshare.
Sure.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of freedom with Facebook page. We can use that weekly, we can put
Mhm.
stuff on it. We do have an email list of people who've signed up to receive emails from the town. We try only to use that for the newsletter or like really important like public notices or press releases that we have to send. So we wouldn't want to send stuff through that like every week, because then people just start not looking at it. But Facebook's easier. We don't really have a limit on that.
if you take a picture, they're gonna,
As long as there's a
look at it,
picture,
yeah.
yes. A picture or a little short video,
Yeah.
people like,
Yeah.
they're visual,
Yep.
You scroll through, they're gonna stop when there's a picture.
Oh,
They
sure.
don't really look when there's just text.
and they'll sync through, like, well, one thing I'm thinking of invasive plants is the swallowwort or the
Mhm.
dog's bane.
Yeah.
They like alkaline soils, and so they get into this area and in the woods also, and they take over
Mhm.
the whole ecosystem.
Well, it's very toxic to
Butter
butterflies.
monarchs.
Monarchs in
Mhm.
particular, yeah. It is a milkweed, so they're attracted to it. And
Their
it's
eggs,
toxic to the
Yeah.
caterpillars.
yeah, and that's it's all over in Monroe County.
Mhm.
All right, so I mean, it might be something that we continue to look at to see if we want to
Mhm.
put it in some kind of flyer or whatever, but it,
And then there's, around here, there's Oriental Bittersweet, that's another one
Yeah.
people should be on the lookout for.
Japanese knotweed.
Knotweed, pokeweed.
I mean, we
Yeah,
could
The
start.
list is
Yeah.
quite endless.
I know, and then when you learn what they look like and you're driving around and you see so much of it,
Mhm.
Yes.
and then there's,
depressing.
Going out to Honeoye is just.
yeah.
I mean, that could be, almost be a pamphlet in itself. with
yeah, that might be
It should
more
be,
of the
yeah.
environmental board type of thing,
You
deal.
know, we might want to ask them, you know, how
Sure.
much they want us to get involved in it, maybe they,
Yeah,
Well.
because I know they have put stuff out in the past.
They have,
Mhm.
they have. But,
All right, the big thing tonight is our historical tree program. We've been talking about it and starting to look into some stuff, and Eric and Dan sent us some things in the fall or late fall. So I thought, you know, maybe we needed to start getting some ideas to what the thing is going to look like. I've looked into dozens and dozens and dozens of programs throughout the United States, and there are a lot of similarities, but there are also a lot of differences. So I just compiled some things. This is a long, long, long way from being complete, and I'm sure there's someone in the group that can do a much better job than I can, but I just try to get things a little bit more organized. So let's look at it. We'll talk about it more. I guess our goal should be, you know, by summer to have something written up that I can go and sit down with the board and talk to them, or at least start out with the town supervisor first and talk to them as to, you know, what we're doing, and then it would really be nice to have it approved by the fall, or maybe pick out something in the town property, the cemeteries and the parks, by fall. But again, you know, we just needed to start getting some ideas to what direction we're taking. And again, this is long ways from being anything complete, and most of it maybe can be thrown out. But, you know, a cover of some sort, table of contents with the people that are involved in compiling this. Then we had what Eric emailed us. I did take out the one, that beginning sentence, because you said the fall of 2022.
Oh, right,
So I
yeah.
changed the first sentence. Then I just added a page myself. You can look at this for the next time or whatever.
The guy,
And then we had the criteria and stuff, which is the most important part, that Dan put. Dan sent us. And then I added a couple of other pages, just
put it together, yeah.
the last pages, which all the historical tree programs have, is for the general public to be able to apply for the recommend some tree as historical. So the last 2 pages of the packet I gave you, I just typed up something. I mean, there were so many different things, including the city of Canandaigua, that had some type of nomination form,
yeah.
description, et cetera. I don't know if you've noticed recently, we've talked about it in the past, the city has now changed theirs. This is on at some of our other meetings, I sent out I gave you a copy of what the city used. Well, this is what they now have. And this is online, and people can fill it out and send it to John Goodwin. But I thought for the next meeting, between now and then, if you could look this over, come up with some ideas. I'm sure you have better ideas than I do, but they're pretty concise. But the one I used for the last page is kind of a little bit of things from a number of different sources. So look at that for the next time. We'll go through this packet. What else do we need to add? Maybe even type up some stuff that you think should be added and email them out to all the rest of us.
Okay.
you know, what kind of form do you want for the general public or the residents in the town anyway to fill out for a suggested heritage tree. But at least I try to get things a little bit more compiled than hit and miss, so that between now and June, it'd be kind of nice to finalize something like this as a committee. The other thing we've talked about and banged around is a rubric,
Yeah.
and I hate to tell you how much time I spent looking for a rubric. And every time I looked, every source I checked on, the only thing that kept popping up was the cities. That's the only rubric I could find in the United States, you know, of course, I think all the sources. And again, you know, this is theirs, we've got to decide whether we want a rubric or not, we don't have to decide that tonight, but.
Right.
This is for internal purposes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, both of these, the two forms I'm handing out, the application for a historical tree by the residents, that's been changed from the original and that's now online. They really haven't changed this too much from what I gave you before. They just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. This is what's online.
Okay.
So, well, that's, you know, we need to make a decision. Do we want to go with a rubric? I have mixed emotions about rubric. When I was a teacher, we went through a cycle where we fill out a rubric for each student, and then the administration filled out a rubric for the teachers. And there were good points and bad points. Truthfully, most of them were bad points, but it was interesting. So think about that so I've got two homework assignments for you. One is to start to think about additions or changes for what I passed out as the packet for the historical tree program, and also, do we want to do a rubric? How should it look?
Is it a rubric, specific weighting? Is that what? I don't really understand rubrics.
Well, I
I've
don't.
never used them. What is it,
I think-
a weighting system?
Yeah, it's a
weights?
rating system.
Rating, but weights. So specific weights, like
Oh.
the age might trump this, or this
It
might trump
could,
that.
it could.
Is that
You know, when it was done
This would be, yeah.
for
Yeah.
students and stuff, there were categories of, you know, how hard they worked or whatever, and
Mhm.
this type of thing. For the teachers, you know, we had things down like planning, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's a little description or whatever. What did it do for us? I don't know. I think, at least for the educational system, I think it caused more controversy than it was worthwhile. I think the school district only had it for a couple of years and it found out that it really wasn't. And again, it's objective, you know,
Yeah,
if Dan does a rubric for Eric and I do a rubric for
It's gonna
Eric,
be
do you think
different.
they're going to be exactly
No,
the
very
same?
subjective.
No, so that was the thing too, that was what came into play, so. But that's something we need to think about
You
here
can also-
eventually.
You also do a vote system.
Good.
You know, inducted or not.
Well, see, and that's the way I feel. I mean, right now, I'm assuming we're going to be the group that chooses the first historical tree in the town. And I think right now, you know, there are probably 3 or 4 trees that we're leaning toward.
Mhm.
And it's going to be a vote thing, you know.
Mhm.
Who thinks tree A is it? Who's
Okay.
B?
You could have an advocate system, somebody who advocates for it, and then the person that is the pro and con.
Are
You
we
know?
going to decide how many
Almost like
we
a-
wish to designate per year or anything? Is
No,
that going to be?
No, I think the
Or is it going
first-
to be?
I think
It's gonna go
the
like
first
crazy.
2 years, it should be
it should
just
be
town
just
property.
Yes.
And then we set it free for the public
Yeah.
to start
Right.
deciding.
Yeah.
Once
And I would
we-
think it would only be one, most of the ones I saw that I read, it was only one a year or something in the community.
Well,
It
that's-
wasn't even one necessarily. I don't know when the last time was a city.
I
picked
think
a-
of a
maybe,
few.
maybe you probably should have a limit, because if you get a flood, everyone's just gonna
Right,
throw
and all of a
everything.
sudden,
Yeah.
there's 25 historical trees in the town, and that's not realistic,
I think it
so.
loses its,
It's, yeah,
it makes it not special.
Yeah.
If you're
Right.
doing,
And there's a criteria too, once it's chosen as a historical tree, you know, There's certain things about maintenance.
Right.
There's always
Right.
replace a plaque, whether it's put on the tree or near the tree, that type of thing. So we need to come up with criteria, but, yeah, we need to be careful about, how many we choose or whatever. There might be one historical tree in the whole town.
There might be.
I think there's more than one, but
Yeah,
I
I
wondered
think
how many we were going to
Yeah,
designate.
we need to. There are
The
realistic.
candidates, you only allow maybe 2 candidates, 1 candidate a year, what do you, or you choose one out of a group.
Yes.
And you
one
might
a
not
year.
choose, you might not choose any, what I need to do is contact the city and find out
Well, it's like a
how many
ballot,
historical trees do they have and what criteria they use.
well, it's almost like a Hall of Fame, you get inducted to the Hall of
Sure.
Fame, you might be nominated, but you don't get inducted yet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you
Yes.
could say, you collect them in every July or whatever, you choose the
Select
tree,
one,
and
yeah.
so
And
you
then
accept
that one gets-
nominations until
yeah.
June, and then, I'm
Yeah.
just throwing out a date,
Yeah,
but,
no, that makes sense, because then you wouldn't have to rely so heavy on the rubrics. You just pick the best out of the lot, and then you
and then you
kick it
wait
off
till
for another
next
year.
year.
Mhm.
Well, see,
Yeah.
that's my feeling. I think, we don't really need a rubric. I think,
Unless you were doing systematically all of them, and you wanted to get it done.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's
yeah, you
not,
could.
yeah.
Right.
Well, I think when we start dealing with public nominations of trees on private property, that will be a little different too, because if this is going to be valuable for the public, they're going to have to be able to see the tree. We
Mhm.
want something that is visible from
Viewing.
a public place.
Which
And I
would
think that'll have to be stipulated
raise
when
the,
it's public.
raise the
Yes.
likelihood of it being chosen. Someone may
Yes.
have an
Yeah,
amazing tree in their
exactly.
woods, but
Can't,
But
it
it's
can't be
amazing for
viewed.
If
them.
they're the only
and
people
nobody
who
else.
see it, then it's
Right.
not
Yeah.
particularly valuable as far as an example for the public of what this tree species is like and what,
Yeah, and that's what I read in all these other
Yeah.
ones that I've done that said, if you pick a historical tree on private property, it has to be visible by the
Yeah.
public. The public
Right.
can't go on the private property
No.
and look at it, but it has to be visible, so.
If you can see it from the road or
Yeah.
from a public
Mhm.
park or something like that,
I think, I
it's
think,
more valuable.
Because heritage is, a community heritage, not just individuals. Yeah, then it would be a family thing.
Mhm.
I think what Eric put in his form there was the importance of this is to get the public involved in trees and awareness of trees and the importance of trees, more so than that historical thing. And controversy, I don't know, I don't really see a lot of controversy
No, I
taking
don't
place.
either.
Maybe when we throw it out to the public, I don't know.
Yeah.
people competing. Well,
Yes,
it's better.
if we-
But that's great, I mean, it gets conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
will be interesting, what kind of reaction, do we get any kind of reaction? I
Yeah.
know there's one town board member that's anxious for us to look at a tree in her housing development.
Yes,
So
yeah.
we should go down and look at it before we get to the public. What else? The other thing on the agenda was to set the dates for visiting.
Well, Can we
extent
stick
whether-
with
I'm
this
sorry.
just for a second longer with the heritage tree thing before we move to the next agenda
Sure.
item? What is our goal with this before the next meeting?
Our goal is for you to look at what I sent out.
Okay,
Is there anything there you think we should keep besides what, Eric and Dan sent out? I mean, the things I put in there, I just kind of typed up stuff. Do you think that's it? Are there other items you would like to see in there? If there are other items you would like to see in there, if you could email a copy for us to look at.
Okay.
But again, my goal for June is to have something to sit down and start talking to the town board about, so.
my initial comment would be like the longer version that explains everything, be more of an internal document.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But have a shorter version that, like a one-page
Descriptive.
explanation and a link to an online version of the form, which we can easily make.
Right, right.
I can help make sure that gets to the website if we end up doing this and the board's excited about it. But, I like having like the longer version and a short version, you know?
Right.
This
How
is
much
nice
transcript-
information, but we need something
Yeah,
shorter,
no, they're not gonna
especially
be
when we
interested.
want the community to participate and nominate. We'll want something, a more condensed version.
If we don't decide not to do a rubric or assign point values, because that gets awfully quantitative. And it does drain some of the soul out of this process. Even a checklist, that trees for consideration have to meet so many of these criteria, whether it's 5 or
That's
6 or
true.
7.
You know, you could do like a dry run with some example trees,
Yeah.
made up or real, to see how it feels to go through a rubric or a checklist and see if it becomes difficult or hard or easy to choose a tree, just to kind of get an idea of what would this be like. Although the
And
first
you're
one
right, because,
you
over time,
consider,
we've kind of picked a tree here and another tree here in the parks or the cemeteries. Maybe we could take those
you could
trees,
take those and do a
use the-
pretend,
use the rubric on all of them
nomination
and just
just to
see what we come up with.
yeah, see how
That's
it
a good-
works.
But there is gonna be subjective bias on the
Oh,
inspector.
absolutely.
You're,
Of course.
like you said, you're gonna come up something different.
Absolutely.
Well, and like
Yeah,
this
everyone's-
rubric is, there's
There's
subjective.
subjective.
Is it beautiful?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, well, it's in the
Not
eye of the
everybody's
beholder.
gonna,
Right. But some of these are objectives, the aesthetic, for example, criteria, where you all see a tree
Yeah.
a little bit differently,
Yeah.
but
that's
there's
true.
others that are hard and fast measurables.
Yeah,
A shorter checklist and something even the growth rate index could be an appendix of that.
yeah,
mhm.
So, so for people looking at it, end users, the public looking at it quickly, they can go back and see the more technical things in the back, but just get a sense of
No,
when the
they're gonna-
time
If
comes.
they get angry, they're gonna, well, how did they evaluate the age? I guess those
Right.
factors, they have a better way.
If they want us to take a core sample,
Yeah, we could do that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of our homework assignments is to, look at that. What's in there now? Do you want to keep? What do you want to change? I do know from looking at so many of them, there is a little bit more detail to the public when they choose or when they fill out the application. So what I put in here is only a couple of pages. What I've seen from other ones is a little bit more detail for the public, so.
Well, how transparent do you have to be with the public on the sausage making?
You don't.
I think as long as there's, it's explained.
I think the important thing is, like you said, Dan, how far do we carry this? Really,
Yeah.
realistically, in
Yeah.
the town of Canandaigua, because that's all we're doing.
Yeah,
How many historical trees should there be, in the end of this?
right?
And I think
Well,
we can choose too many
well,
to make it of no value.
there's not a lot of historical trees, but there may be heritage trees.
Or heritage trees,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, heritage
yeah.
trees.
Yeah, they're really heritage trees, and history is one criteria, but there's, when we develop our in-house rubric, and we do what we do, we spend a year or two evaluating internally
Yeah.
what's on public land. You're right, we'll get a sense of the trees
Mastering it.
themselves, we'll also get a sense of how to best evaluate them, and that's an adaptive process. We're going to tweak this rubric, until it's ready to roll out, and that's great. That's great. I like to start the process right away internally, but we don't have to roll it out to the public for a year or two.
Right.
But you're right, get in front of the board, get
For
their
the next
blessing.
couple of years, we're really concentrating, I would think, on the town parks and cemeteries.
Mhm.
Or at least the first year, anyway, let's put it that way.
And get some pictures in the local press, on Facebook, so the public knows that we're doing this, and they get a sense of really how pretty cool it is, and then go public with it.
Yeah, selected on an annual basis, definitely, once a
And in the
year.
meantime, I'll talk to the city tree committee as to, how many heritage trees are there in the city, and
Right.
are they still coming in or whatever? I mean, truthfully, I'm not aware of any of the trees, I guess, in the city right now, so.
Well, the one on the VA grounds.
Oh, that's right, when you go in the
plaque is there,
entryway.
Yeah,
Um,
So let me talk to them too to see, how
Okay.
It's probably cemeteries.
Mhm.
Cemeteries are absolute, yeah, they are in general, the
Yeah.
oldest. That's what I have seen anyway on our tours, is that the cemetery trees are really the most impressive and the oldest.
Mhm.
And,
Now, did they have a
most of-
plaque or something?
no,
since-
no, they just were great specimens, but the one down the VA grounds has a.
The
has a
oak on
plaque,
the VA?
Yeah.
The big
right,
oak,
the big oak.
yeah. that's
I'm
right.
not sure about, is there something on the community college grounds? I can't think.
Well, they got an
Seems like they've got
arboretum
an
there.
arboretum there, lots of.
It's like secondary
species,
growth
yeah.
too.
Hmm.
It's all, they do have one magnificent bur oak tree on that.
Oh, back by the lumber jack area.
No, it's actually across the road from the large CMAC parking lot and close to that pond,
Oh,
big
Oh.
pond
On the
that's
trail?
there. Yes, there is a tremendous bur oak
And
there.
it's been chosen, or?
Well, I don't know, I just wish somebody paid attention to it, because it's quite unique, there are not that many bur oaks around. And it's a beautiful tree, it's, I think it is in the town, I think it is close to the
Oh.
border, but it's in the
Close to
town.
Hopewell,
Hopewell.
but maybe just inside of the town.
I
Oh,
think
that
it
would be
is, I
Hopewell,
think
right?
it's, I think it is
Maybe.
just inside the town, in this town, I
Maybe we
don't,
need to take a field trip.
we need to go
Yeah.
look,
'Cause
yeah.
I think CMAC is Hopewell, right?
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah,
but this
the
is on
line
the
is
other side of the
LCC.
street, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. This is
Other side of East Lake
the,
Road.
it is on the east side of East Lake Road, but it
East side,
is,
East Lake Road,
I
okay.
think, it is north of Lincoln Hill Road,
Lincoln Hill.
so I think it's in town.
They took a
And
lot
it's on
of horse
private property,
chestnuts.
or?
No, it's on FLCC property,
Oh,
and it is a beautiful specimen of the bur oak.
She's bringing up the town.
Okay.
sorry, I'm too.
yeah, let's field trip it.
I didn't know that the town property went over that way. I thought that was Hopewell and,
Yeah, so
City.
here's the CMAC,
There's the parking lot, okay,
Yeah.
go up just a
There's
little
the
bit, see
pond,
the
yeah.
pond?
yeah, I see the pond.
right here.
No, well,
That's the pond.
okay, go up just a little more.
There's that gravel area, and then all the trail systems.
What is that gray spot?
Gravel.
Go up just a little more,
North.
a little more, yeah.
Oh,
Do you
it's
mean the
on the
little
other
pond?
side.
Oh, there was a big, there's, maybe they filled
This is
it
the
in.
little pond.
That's the
There's
little
East
pond.
Lake.
No, there was a big pond across the road from that big parking lot.
Parking lot, go to the parking
Yeah,
lot.
good, and,
There's the
No.
part, you mean the
That's-
shell?
oh, yeah, right, yeah, this pond.
Okay, that's a shell.
Okay,
It's
I'm
a-
looking at it, yeah, that's the shell.
This is Star
Here.
Cider.
Yeah, here, it would be this pond, and there is an oak tree, a big oak tree,
In there.
right in
Oh,
here.
look, that's where it is.
Yeah,
Left,
that's it.
That
right there.
So
That's gotta
that
be.
would be Hopewell, right? Right on the.
No,
No, that's in the
no,
town.
it's in the
So
town.
Hopewell
Gateway.
starts here. See
Oh,
the
okay.
purple
Hopewell,
line?
it's
Yeah.
just inside,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Purple
yeah.
That's
line,
right.
this is Hopewell, and this is the town.
You have to excuse
Right,
me,
so let
I
me get an
have
idea
no
so I go
sleep.
down and look at it.
No,
So I know where the pond is. Where's the tree again? Right in front of
Right.
it?
it looks
right
like
here.
right there.
Right here.
Or is it
Yeah.
one of these?
Oh, okay.
It's one of these, but it's a huge bur oak.
Hmm.
And it is beautiful. It's quite symmetrical. It's very nicely kept.
Right on the side of the road
And
too.
right, yes, and it's visible from
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of places. I just, I'm not nominating it. I'm just saying
Well, it's a
there.
rare-
That's a,
And it's a rare species for here.
Yeah,
now there's another place, Sarah, while you're on there,
naturally occurring, yeah.
that big house well, they just sold it there on 5 and 20, go all the way up.
520, there it
They
is.
just sold it, and I don't know what it is now. They painted it white, used to be a yellow
Yellow
house.
house, yeah, I know.
And there's some beautiful trees in that property, but I don't,
Is that
Over
the
here?
town that in between Hopewell and the city limits?
Yes, so when
Wow, I
you
didn't-
zoom out, it's kind of odd,
Yeah,
but
that is.
the city is at an angle.
Yeah.
And
Ah.
it's this
Yeah,
section, and then so the town
Surrounds it.
surrounds it.
surrounds it.
But
yeah.
yes, there's an odd little location here where it's pretty tight, and
Okay.
you've got all three of them.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So the town property goes down to what?
It goes all the way around that little postage stamp of the city.
Yeah.
The town, actually, I think goes all the way down to Lincoln Hill Road, doesn't it?
Right to there.
It goes
Goes
past it.
past it?
So
Okay.
you go past Lincoln Hill, then you pass County Road 18, you come all the way down to basically around Oticiana Point. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
that's Gorham.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Gorham starts.
yeah, I thought that was in the town.
Yeah.
There's probably some historic, or not historic, but heritage trees also in the lake, the lake roads that go to the
Yeah,
lake.
and here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot of old trees there too.
I think I remember seeing that
So
tree by
that's-
FLCC.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
some nice
Yeah.
trees
Yeah.
down there.
Well, I did specifically notice the bur oak because that is unusual here, and it's the native, it's the dominant species in the woods on my home place out in Kansas, so it
So
really
even-
caught my attention.
Yeah,
So even though it's on the FLCC's property, it's in the town.
Yes, it is.
and it is
And
bur oak.
it is public, yeah.
It's not white,
No,
white oak,
it's-
swamp
It's
oak.
bur oak. yes.
Bur
So
oak.
I didn't realize the town property was on that side of the road. I knew it was on the other side. All right. So our next meeting, well, before that, we need to set a date to visit the cemeteries. The extended weather forecast for March
looks
is
pretty
below
bad.
normal temperatures, so I think we wait till
More winter.
April.
Yeah, maybe a little bit after the
Since
second
Samantha
meeting,
comes
What's
back
it-
from Florida,
after the
yes.
second meeting sometime,
You could do that, because
Yeah.
our next meeting is what, Sarah? April,
14th,
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Depend on this calendar.
6 a.m.
That was just the Zoom. I fixed it.
I'll be up.
April 10th is the second Monday.
April 10th, okay.
April 10th? Yeah, I mean, that would be fine, then we could set it then. We might do it that following weekend or something, because weather
Yeah.
should start
It should start to get a little sunnier.
to.
And you want things to dry out a little bit,
Yeah.
unless you're gonna
Yeah.
wear
Pretty
boots.
swampy.
Yeah, you don't want.
So towards the end of April, it'll be a little drier.
Yeah, you
little
all
bit.
had a decent winter while I was in Florida, and I came home and I'm
Yeah,
Hey,
you
dealing
missed
with this
it.
stuff.
you're a jinx.
So our next meeting, if Dan can send us that list of suggested trees or
Did I?
for the
I
public, we
don't.
can look at that and,
Did I actually have a list?
yeah.
Did I?
Are you talking about the list that the city had that we were
No,
looking
Dan,
at?
Dan
Did it?
Dan sent out a list and he highlighted certain trees for something. and
Boy, I have it on my home computer probably.
The city has one and I can give you, next time I can bring the copy that the city has recommended trees.
Did I take the city and mark it up?
I thought that's
I
what
think
you
that's
did.
Oh,
what
is
I
that what you
did.
did?
Yeah,
Oh, here it is.
I marked it up. Because they were suggesting ash, and of course, we're not gonna
Yeah,
plant ash,
right.
Oh, okay, because this is what I think you sent out the
Yeah.
last time.
unfortunately.
I know.
Yeah,
I
'cause
don't think they've updated theirs in a while.
No,
I have a.
so that
copy.
was a starting point, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's already done, you might as well look at that, and then we could add to that. And I think
Right.
that would be kind of a group discussion,
Right.
we can throw out a few,
But if we could do that the number one thing we want to do at the next meeting is continue with the Heritage Tree program.
Mhm.
yep, and then the inventory would have to go,
Inventory is going to be
If you
something
wanna-
that's going to be way down the road after we get the
well, yeah,
Heritage Tree program out of the way and the list of.
you don't really need funding for that.
I
It'd be
think,
nice for the town to get funding for it.
I think the funding, I think that grant program is geared towards places that are like cities, where they
Yeah.
have street trees.
Yeah,
And we don't
yeah.
have street trees. And so this was 2019, 2020, I don't know. This was a while ago when we went for it. And afterwards I was like, is this something we should even try, as a rural community without street trees. We just have park and cemetery trees. And, I mean, the woman, Gloria, somebody from DEC, she felt it was a worthy program, but, you know, it is, I mean, you know, it's, from my understanding from what it was, it's basically counting all the trees and then doing a health assessment and like where, you know, what's their status at the time of the inventory. And it was, the estimate of the cost was based on our estimate of how many trees we had. And we had I did an aerial rough count for all the parks and cemeteries. And I don't remember what it was. I still have the paperwork. And that's what it was based on for someone like you, you know, an arborist to go through and do it.
I mean, technically, I think the town probably has more street right-of-way trees than in the
Yeah, but we
city,
didn't
but,
include the trees that happen to fall in the right of way. When I say street trees, I meant like, you know, the city has trees planted in the berm between the sidewalk and the road that they
Oh, okay.
plant in
yeah,
front of people's homes.
planted trees,
Yeah.
ornamental.
Right, exactly. Which obviously we don't do that, but yeah, we didn't include even the trees that are in the town-owned right-of-ways, because a lot of our roads are along forests, so that would just be too many.
Yeah, and we don't have the situation the city does where they have a lot of trees that they have to take care of. I know what they have,
Because of
they have listed, you know,
interactions with people.
we're gonna take care of such and such, we're gonna do this to them. When they have to be removed, here's the process you have to
Yeah.
go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I used to live in the city on West Gibson Street, and while we lived there, we were there for 5 years. On our street, they removed a couple trees, they planted a couple new trees, like right in front of our house, we got a new tree. And they put a water bag on it and they send you a letter. And
Tell
they
you to
say,
fill
this
it.
is what we'd like you to do. So, I mean, you're supposed, like, that's the area where, as a homeowner in the city, you have to mow that, even though it belongs
And
to the
shovel it.
city. And so, yeah, when they plant a tree, they want you to water it until it's big enough to make it on its own. And when the tree and they come through and prune, I don't think it was every year, but they prune all of them every now and then. And then if there's one that's diseased or damaged or something, they come and remove them, they grind the stumps, and then a few weeks later, they'll come and plant another one near it.
The other thing,
That's a
But
lot of
that's
work.
kind of unique to the city, though, you're
And they have a
saying.
schedule of all the roads and when they're gonna take
Yeah,
out
that's
trees
right.
and which ones they're taking out and what they're planting in its
Yeah.
place. And
The
It's
town doesn't,
great.
they just go through an area and eliminate the shoulder trees,
yeah,
you know, for setback or whatever off the road.
yeah, so it's
So it's
totally
different.
different the way we deal with our town-owned trees. It's
Right.
basically like what you guys have done.
Parks.
These are damaged, get rid of these, or, you know, and pruning, and the highway department has the equipment to get rid of larger trees if we have them.
Right.
So,
So we don't have city blocks to,
no,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's, I mean, we would look at it much differently. I don't know, I mean, if it might be worth listening to them to see what this program is, if it's different and if it fits.
Mhm.
as we were talking, I noticed on the cover that I made, that should be
Oh, heritage.
not historical, but
Heritage.
heritage trees. The second page I see, I put historical too. I don't know where my mind was when I was typing this up. But again, you know, spend some time with this. Go online if you want and look at some other communities throughout the United States as to how
How they're
what
doing
the
it.
form looks like for heritage trees. There are some of them that I found that are like 3 pages long with all kinds of information that they need from the homeowner. What other description do you want for the public to have for nominating someone? Maybe, you know, I put down some things, but there could be, this is kind of a synopsis of what was in some of the others.
yeah.
But spend some time with this, see what you want to add, change.
Does the town of Canandaigua, do they also extend to the 4-H camp, which is Camp Bristol Hills?
No, it's in
No, that's,
Bristol.
Where,
Or
what is that?
South
That's,
Bristol. Hold on.
is, because the border is very close, near Gooddale Road.
yeah, it has to be,
Montana
it's a
Road.
school, it's part of the Canandaigua School District, huh?
It is very close where the line is, because there's a very old oak right near the,
By the 4-H camp.
by the 4-H camp. They used to clear around it and have
I don't know, is that the
powwows
town of
around
Bristol?
it.
Just finding the road.
It would come around
So
on
here's,
Kier Road.
the border is right here, so Kier is in Bristol.
Oh, it's too bad.
It's like if you were on
Yeah, I
Goodale and
see
you
it.
cross the line, then you're entering Bristol here.
Yeah.
Here's over here.
Oh, we can't claim it.
So
That's
Here's
too
the
bad.
road.
purple line is the town. Where does
Yes.
that end in the town? Smith Road or something? What is that?
It's,
Smith, no, that,
Knapp,
Knapp Road, yeah.
Knapp Road, okay.
yeah,
Over in, where's the Bristol camp?
it's down here.
Okay,
Right,
No,
we are,
no.
yeah, it's right here.
okay. If you go up a little bit, in here, it's an ancient oak, white oak. somewhere
Is that
around in
owned by the, oh yeah, so that's still 4-H.
Is it near
Yeah.
the barn, Dan?
Yeah, it's across
Oh,
from the
okay.
barn, somewhere over in there. It used to,
Yeah, so it's
when
on
I was,
4-H property.
when I was a kid, I went to the 4-H camp and they cleared it. I must have been 10 years old and it was huge back then and they cleared it because it was such a prominent oak.
It's-
And it's kind of failed in recent years and it's overgrown again.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's too bad it's not in the town.
It's gonna be interesting when we open it up to the public because,
Yeah.
you know, you go up to Kier Road, there's a lot of nice trees around there, really
Yeah.
are. And I have no idea what's out there myself. We'll worry about that part later.
Sounds like a good future reality TV show, Tree Wars.
Yeah.
Anything else? Good shape? Thanks for coming out in this weather.
Yeah,
Get your homework before it's too dark.
I think all the snow's coming tomorrow,
Yeah.
Oh,
tonight.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
it sounded like a lot of it wasn't coming till after morning.
Yeah.
'Cause